This is lesson number 21 on how to study the Bible. And we have been looking at the language of the Bible. And recently, this little section that we've been looking at is figurative language. And we've been looking at figures of speech. We've gone through parables and fables, and last week we looked at similes. This week we're going to look at metaphors, and maybe even get on over into allegory. We'll see how it goes. But simile, metaphor, and allegory all kind of work together. In fact, I was doing some study this past week, and there was one little bit of study where it was all three. There was an allegory that had similes in it with a metaphor. A simile is a metaphor, I'll put it that way. But an allegory takes it a little step further, which makes it a little more interesting. So, as we look at metaphor then, a metaphor is a word or phrase which is said to be something else because of a likeness involved. Now remember, with a simile, there is a likeness there, and the word like or as is typically within the phrase. Like or something, it just gives you a different kind, a different take on it, so that you understand that this is a figurative language. We looked at Isaiah chapter 1 verse 18 in particular, where your sins are like scarlet, but they shall be made white as snow. So you have that, they're like scarlet, it's like a blotch. Well, I think, thinking back on it, I think that if you take that reference to the disease of leprosy on the skin, okay, a red blotch, you might think of a rash today. So sin would be like a blotch or rash on the soul or on the spirit of the individual, and when God cleanses that, then it's clean. There's no blotch on it. Okay, but that's the like part of the simile. But with the metaphor, in the Greek language, metaphor means to transfer. There's a transference that takes place. You're moving maybe not just the word, but the whole situation that's involved over to a different area. The earthly story, a parable in the sense, would be like that. It is calling one thing by another more descriptive word. All right? So that you get the picture of it. For example, Luke chapter 13, verse 32. Let me get here. And he said to them, "Go tell that fox, behold, I cast out demons and perform cures today and tomorrow, and the third day I finish my course." Go tell that fox. Does Jesus want somebody to go tell a fox something? What good would it do? What good would it do to go tell a fox something? Did I show you all the picture of the fox we had in our backyard a few weeks ago when Kendra and the kids were in? And just laying out there. We walked out, we on the back porch, watched it for 5 minutes or so. It just stayed laying right there. It wasn't about to move.
Wasn't a rabbit, was it?
It wasn't a rabbit. Was it
No.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
That's for you, okay.
Well, if it wasn't moving, it means there's something wrong with it.
Okay. Did Jesus want them to go tell a fox, a literal fox, this message? What was he wanting them to do?
Tell everybody.
Foxes, if you think of a fox, are usually
Sly.
sly and
crafty,
sneaky and
sneaky.
crafty and.
Yeah. How would we find out?
What do you mean?
How would we find out what Jesus meant?
Go to a commentary.
Maybe he's
Wow.
talking about the Pharisees and stuff being like foxes.
Lynn?
Search.
Search. What's the beginning stage in the search?
God's word.
Okay. Then what's the next step?
Define
Obedience.
definition.
Keep it.
Context.
Context. Context. So what's the immediate context? What's the immediate context? The verse before, the verse after.
Before.
Yeah.
Oh,
Both.
To me, looking at the one
Both.
before, which says that the Pharisees, to me, it's tell the foxes, tell the Pharisees that I can cast out demons and perform cures, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Simply read the verse before. Read it out loud.
At that very hour, some Pharisees came and said to him, "Get away from here, for Herod wants to kill you." Okay, so he's talking about Herod.
Boy,
He's
that-
talking to Jesus.
The Pharisees were talking to Jesus
Right.
and told Jesus,
About Herod.
you need to get out of here because Herod wants to kill you. And Jesus said, verse
Go
32,
and tell that fox, which
Go
means
tell
tell
that-
Herod.
go tell
I'm not
Herod.
afraid of him.
Because Herod was a sly. Now, this is not Herod the Great, right?
No.
No. This is Herod. I believe it's Herod Archelaus. It may be Herod Antipas at this time.
This isn't the Herod that,
But that's where you get into the commentary to look.
this Herod's not the one that died of worms.
It'd be a son.
Worms?
That's in Acts chapter 12. So that's going to be about 3 years later, so it might be. Depending on where Herod Archelaus, see, Herod Antipas and Herod Archelaus. I'm thinking it's Archelaus, but anyway, that's where you go do a little deeper study then, because the Bible doesn't distinguish between them. It'll tell you Herod the Great, but when it says Herod here, it's talking about the Herod who's ruling over Galilee. Okay, so that's why I'm thinking it would be, well, no, I don't want to get into that. Okay, but there you go. That is a key premise in how to study the Bible. Look for the context. The verse before, the verse after. And you may have to go, do you know that in most Bibles,
I'm trying to figure out. Herod.
they'll have it in paragraphs. It'll be broken down into paragraphs.
Right there, verse before. Says, get away from here, for Herod wants to kill you. And then Jesus says, go tell that fox. He's talking about Herod.
Okay. Sorry, I just couldn't figure out where Herod was in that.
It's in the verse before, Joe.
Verse 31, Luke 13:31.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. That's what the class is about, right? And how to study the Bible. And that's I always talk about context. And so we know who's doing the speaking. Jesus. in that particular verse. Who's he speaking to? The Pharisees.
But he's talking about Herod.
Yeah, but he's responding to a statement. They're telling him, you need to get out of here because Herod's trying to kill you. Who else is trying to kill him?
The Pharisees.
The Pharisees, right? But they don't want to say that because that makes them look bad in front of people. And the people believe Jesus is at least a prophet if they're not convinced that he is the Messiah yet. All right? Then, not only that, you have further context. He says, go tell that fox. So there's your metaphor. That's the transfer. Fox. Why does Jesus call him a fox?
Because he's sly.
Because he's sly, he's slippery. Why do fairy tales talk about fox? Aesop's fables, the fox. Okay?
They're cunning.
Cunning, sly, all of those things. That fits the metaphor, okay? And that's the way that Herod is. Does Herod go out and do stuff on his own?
He usually has people do stuff for him.
He typically gets people to do things. He sits behind, he pulls the strings, right? Pulls the levers of power. All right, let's go. You go tell that fox, give him this information. I cast out demons. Who's got power? Herod or Jesus?
Jesus.
Jesus does. And perform cures today and tomorrow. And the third day I finish my course. Now what happens on the third day? Now is this the third day from here, or is he talking about another third
When he
day?
dies, he rises.
Now he's talking about prophecy, so there is kind of a metaphor of that. Third day I finish my course. What is the finishing of his course?
Resurrection.
The resurrection. That's the proof that he is the Messiah. Say, yeah, do other people cast out demons? Yeah, do other people do miracles, cure things? Not so much leprosy, but yeah, cure things, heal people, yeah. But resurrection, do others resurrect people? You don't hear too many. Of course, Elijah did in the Old Testament, right? And I think Elisha did. But, in the New Testament, it's Jesus for a while, Peter later on, in the New Testament. But, with Jesus, there's nobody out there saying, Jesus, arise. He does it on his own. Okay? I finish my course. Nevertheless, I must go my way today. What does that mean? Well, just finish. I must go my way today and tomorrow and the day following. What does that mean?
And he continued to
He's
travel
just
around and preach
continuing
the
to
word.
do his stuff.
Yeah.
He's just continuing to do his thing, preach and
Healing and-
heal and all that.
Okay.
Cast out demons and all that.
But something further. Think of what's being said. Think of the context.
He's not gonna let anything get in his way of his.
Who's not going to stop him?
Herod.
Herod.
Satan or nobody.
Herod's not going to stop me from doing this. Satan's not going to stop him from doing this. In fact, Satan's part of the plan, isn't it? When it's the time, Satan's going to rise up. Satan's going to have him arrested. Satan's going to have him tried. Satan's going to have, and Satan's going to have, is Satan going to do it?
He's
gonna have
Judas.
Judas.
Judas betrayed.
He's going to have Judas betraying. Is Satan going to try Jesus?
No.
No. He's going to have
Have others do his bidding.
do it. Same as Herod, right? Same as Herod.
Yep.
Throw it on somebody else.
Yeah. Don't blame us. It was these other people that did this. Yeah. The Jews say, oh, it wasn't us that crucified Jesus, it was the Romans. The Romans say, it wasn't us that crucified Jesus, it was the Jews. Come on. Every one of us is responsible because every one of us has sinned. Yeah, even us. Even us. So, there, I must go my way today, tomorrow, and the day following. It cannot, hey, nobody's going to stand in the way. This is going to happen. For it cannot be that a prophet should perish away from Jerusalem. You know, oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. Okay? So he was weeping over Jerusalem, and sometimes today we weep over the church when we see the condition of the church and things that are going on. And there's Jesus, you know, with Jerusalem. He came to save them, and what are they going to do to him? They're going to kill him. They're going to kill him. But in the killing him, they're carrying out is it God's plan? No, but it's what God said this is going to happen. So yeah, here's how the sacrifice is going to work. Here's how it's going to come about. So you see how that all kind of transfers into it. But the fox, you know, fox is key, but there's a whole lot of metaphorical stuff in there, right? Can you agree?
Amen.
Okay. Even that, how often would I have gathered your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing? You see the picture there. You've probably seen pictures where forest fires have come through, and there have been birds of some sort that the mother bird had laid on top of the baby birds, and she died, and the babies survived underneath. What a picture, okay? You have that with Jesus, his salvation that is there. Jerusalem, you know, as them, you know, and now's the church, okay? It's just full of pictures. If we just look at them and study them, and we find those meanings. All right. But you see how
Verse.
Matthew 26:26. Now, as they were eating, this is the night before Jesus was betrayed, okay? What's called the Last Supper. Jesus took bread, and after blessing it, broke it and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." Is the bread literally his body? Is it literally his body after we bless it? No. But it represents his body. That's the metaphor. That's the transference. Now you see where in Catholic doctrine, transubstantiation, they believe that when the priest blesses the bread, it actually becomes the body of Jesus. And you're eating the body of Jesus when you partake of that. It's a metaphor. We partake of that as a metaphor. It represents, it's a symbol. But what are we supposed to do when we partake of that? Remember what?
Remember his death, burial, resurrection.
His death. His death. Now, do we also remember the resurrection? Well, sure, but we have to remember his death. Because if we're not remembering that, and if we're not sorrowful about his death and what we, through our sins, have caused, it's not going to have proper meaning for us, okay? Now, the Protestants aren't much different because they believe in transubstantiation. Okay? It's only changed. Now, you may have to do a little more research. but they believe that it's changed when somebody blesses it and you partake of it. It's just a little bit different, but they have to be a little bit different than the Catholic version because they're Protestants. You see what I'm saying? Okay? But you see how something is taken then and turned into a false doctrine. Right? So, I'll tell you something else that happens in the church, and I've got just a couple more minutes that I want to go on this. Okay, so something happens in the church. Look at the next part, verse 27. And he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink of it, all of you, for this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for you, or poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins."
One cuppers, yep.
Okay?
Religions.
So he took the cup. He took a cup, and when he'd given thanks, he gave it to them. All right? Now, if you go to Luke's account, right, you will see that it's already been distributed out into the individual cups for each of them. Why does Luke say it like this, or what Matthew say it like this? I don't know. But where is the metaphor? Where is the transference? And what makes this? Remember when we talked about figurative language? If it doesn't make sense, you got to look for a different reasoning. Can you figure out within this?
Well, the metaphor is the fact that he tells them they're drinking his blood. Well, he's still alive, so therefore he's,
Well, that's one metaphor.
you know, there's not actual blood in the cup.
But that's like the body and
Right.
the bread.
Right.
But go, listen to it again. He took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink of it, all of you, for this is my blood." What do the ones who believe in one cup say?
Well, they don't drink all of it, I mean.
No.
There's portion for all.
You have to drink the one cup. Okay.
His cup.
Let me short circuit this, okay? Do you drink the cup or do you drink what's in the cup?
And
You drink what's in.
So the cup is a metaphor for what's in the cup. Okay? Now, give them a little bit of credit. Okay, now listen, they're still brothers. They're still brothers. And if they want to drink from one cup, I don't have any problem with that. The problem I have is that they condemn us for having multiple cups. Okay? But you go to Luke's account. Luke's account explains it better than Matthew's account. But here's the thing. You don't drink a cup. The first person who drinks the cup's gone. You see what I'm saying? So, again, look at Luke's account.
Where was that in Luke?
You would look probably about, I'm thinking Luke 19. Do you have a reference? You should have, if you're looking at Matthew 26, there should most have like a 1 or something, or an A or a B, and it'll tell you for a cross-reference. Let me see here.
Luke 19, what?
I don't know. Let me see if I can.
You're still in Matthew.
I know, we're trying to know where that verse is. Yeah. 26.
Let me find it for you later, okay? Because I can't pull it up on this particular one. It's different on my iPhone than it is there. But I'll find it for you in just a moment. But do you have?
22,
Pardon?
Luke 22,
Luke 22, okay.
verse 14.
Okay. See, when he starts, he takes the cup and he blesses it, and he passes it around, he says, take from it. And then he does the bread, and then afterward, they do the cup. So that's exactly what we do. I don't know if y'all bless it before, when you're pouring it out in the individual cups. Okay, gonna stop there, because I gotta get this set up, because, anyway, class dismissed. I gotta get up at 3 in the morning, this whole week. Well, not this week, tomorrow and Wednesday I have to be in at work at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm gonna get some of my stuff started before I leave. So I stop early.